crime charges.
I, as a mom, will never heal.
Plus, the deadly tornadoes in Kentucky claim another life months after the storm.
And in sports, Ohio men's basketball continues its push towards a conference title.
Newswatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Lexi Lepoff.
And I'm Will Price, and welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. A former Athens County woman is filing a lawsuit in federal court in connection to a long history of sexual abuse she suffered in her family's home. Sarah Beller alleges the defendants, which include both of her parents, played a part in either promoting sexual abuse or allowing it to continue. Athens County is also listed as a defendant. Reports of sexual abuse in the Beller home were brought to Athens County Children's Services on 3 separate occasions from 2017 to 2020, but she claims there was never a formal investigation. Beller is seeking unspecified compensatory and punitive damages.
The 3 white men who killed Ahmaud Arbery are facing life in prison again after being found guilty on a federal hate crime charge. The men are already serving life in prison for the murder of Arbery, but prosecutors also say the men chased the 25-year-old through the streets of a neighborhood because he was black. Chris Wynn has the details of today's conclusion of the federal trial.
Justice for Ahmaud Arbery! Justice for Ahmaud Arbery!
On the eve of the 2nd anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery, the 3 white men who killed him were found guilty on all counts in a federal hate crimes trial.
I, as a mom, will never heal.
Tuesday, Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan were convicted of interference of rights, a federal hate crime, and attempted kidnapping. The McMichaels were also found guilty of an additional firearms charge for using and carrying a firearm during a crime of violence.
They gave us a sense of a small victory, but we as a family will never get victory because Ahmaud is gone forever.
The jury found that the men attempted to chase Arbery and attempted to unlawfully confine him using their trucks as he jogged through their neighborhood outside Brunswick, Georgia in February 2020. Arbery's mother relieved with the verdicts after the judge rejected an earlier plea deal agreed to by prosecutors.
They didn't have a son that was lying in a cold grave.
All right, come on.
And they still didn't hear my cry.
All 3 men could now receive sentences of up to life in prison and heavy fines for the federal convictions. They're currently serving life sentences after being previously convicted of murdering Arbery in a separate state trial, although they have said they plan to appeal.
No one should fear that if they go out for a run, they will be targeted and killed because of the color of their skin.
I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
A sentencing date for the 3 is not yet set.
A wrongful death lawsuit has been filed against the Kentucky Police Department after 2 officers fatally shot an armed man during a traffic stop. The Kentucky Inquirer reports the family of Randall Lockaby filed suit in federal court against the Villa Hills Police Department. The incident occurred in February of 2021, and the suit alleges the officers weren't trained properly and used excessive force. Jeff Mando, the attorney who's representing the police department, said his client's actions were justified and they will, quote, vigorously defend them in court. It's been more than 2 months since the tornado outbreak in Kentucky, and the death toll is still rising. It's up to 80 now after a 33-year-old woman died from her injuries. She's been in the hospital for quite some time and was pregnant when the tornado hit, but the baby died a few days after delivery. Governor Andy Beshear says the news marks, quote, yet another tough toll from the most devastating weather event that we have ever experienced. Over 600 people were injured during the tornado outbreak that stretched over 200 miles. The tornadoes reportedly caused $3.9 billion in damage. Now let's talk about the weather in Southeast Ohio. Joining us is Henry Groff. There was heavy rainfall today. Henry, what impact is that going to have throughout our region?
Yes, Will. So today we did see plenty of heavy rain. That's why we were under a flood watch for most of the day. Also because of the rain we did see last week on top of what we saw today. As you can see across our viewing area, we still have a flood watch in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow. But because a majority of the rain has moved out of the area, it is likely to be canceled in the next couple hours. We do still see a chance of rain later on tonight as the cold front moves through. but looking across the area, temperatures are quite warm in the low 60s, and these temperatures will definitely decrease significantly once that cold front does move through, and we will be looking at a colder afternoon tomorrow in the 40s. But in my full forecast later on, we're going to be seeing that rain end overnight, the colder temperatures tomorrow, so make sure not to put those winter coats away because it is definitely going to get colder even through the weekend. And we have a chance for a wintry mix for Thursday, but I'll have more information on that later on. But for now, back to Lexi.
The Ohio Redistricting Commission met again today as a lawsuit was filed to take the state's Supreme Court out of the legislative map drawing process. Don Bray represents the group filing the lawsuit and says having no legal House and Senate maps is a constitutional violation for both voters and candidates. The lawsuit wants the case to be moved to a panel of 3 federal judges and wants the maps ruled unconstitutional on February 7th to be used for this election cycle. The ACLU says, however, this is a, quote, attempt to end run the mandate from Ohio voters to draw a fair and constitutionally compliant map.
Owners of electric cars in Southeast Ohio have 2 new public charging stations in the city of Nelsonville. The Athens Messenger reports the money for the stations comes from a grant from the American Electric Power. Nelsonville City Manager Scott Frank applied for the AEP grant last fall. He says the stations, like the ones you're seeing now from Athens, could encourage new visitors to the city in the short term. It could also position Nelsonville to take advantage of future shifts towards electric vehicles over the next few years. The stations are located just past the Nelsonville Public Square on East Columbus Street. The $8.3 million grant West Virginia Governor Jim Justice announced is being put to use on an ATV track in Wood County. Mount Wood Park ATV Trails received nearly $200,000 for design and construction of a 10-mile ATV course, and there is no timetable for completion yet. There is just a small part of the Ohio grant that's going to recreational parks. The money is going to almost 30 projects across 21 West Virginia counties, with the funding coming from the Federal Highway Administration.
For the first time in 2 years, Ohio University's Bobcathon Dance Marathon returned to the dance floor Saturday night. Newswatch's Alex Porter has more on the impact of the special event.
Students lined up to Earth, Wind, and Fire, grooving their way to start off the 12-hour annual fundraiser known as Bobcathon. The dance raises money for Ronald McDonald houses throughout Central Ohio and aims to connect the Ohio University community for a good cause. This year's co-directors of the Dance Marathon, Maggie Old and Dylan Rollins, say they're excited for the first in-person event after a 2-year hiatus.
Being able to be back to normal this year, still of course have the masks and everything that we have, the safety protocols, but I can tell you it's a relief, just being able to feel like we're back a little bit to normal.
So I was really excited to know that we were doing it in person again, that I could get involved in person again.
Students have opportunities to dance in a silent disco, compete in a trivia hour, and watch the Marching 110 up close and personal.
Setting up the 12-hour dance marathon isn't an easy task for Maggie Old or Dylan Rawlings, but the entire experience would give them a better reward that they would tell you is better than anything materialistic.
One of the great things we get to do when we're part of Bobcathon and within the staff is that we get to go visit the house in Columbus. Being able to see the impact we have, being able to see the people that really appreciate the work that we do, works wonders.
And the more than 100 students dancing the night away did make an impact, setting up continued success in the future. Maggie Old has hoped to grow that success next year.
Next year and the years coming, we can expect more performances and more money raised and more people involved. And I think as we grow, the more kind of connections we'll bring. And I think that's something really exciting.
After another successful 12 hours, the Ronald McDonald House Charities can count on Bobcathon to be annual contributors to helping families of Central Ohio. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Alex Porter.
This year's Bobcathon raised nearly $73,000. NATO allies prepare as Putin sends in the first batch of troops to Ukraine. And the Supreme Court rules in favor of the release of White House documents to the January 6th committee. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
I would love to become a cyborg, to run faster, to jump higher, to do all kinds of things that we can't even imagine today.
Literally within minutes of having it all connected, it starts becoming part of me.
I believe the individual will be able to design their own physicality, will be able to sculpt their own identity.
Augmented on Nova.
The vote is the most powerful tool we have in a democracy.
Here is somebody who walked into fire hoses and cattle prods and remained absolutely nonviolent.
I will not be satisfied until we end discrimination. Where is our moral leadership? Let us vote. We came here to do our job. You must find a way to get in the way and make our country a better place.
It was a devastating moment when everything stopped. Are we ever going to have concerts again?
Here we are in the midst of this mess. And music still flourishes, and beauty gets to have the last word.
Lace up those sneakers and hit the hardwood, because Hardwood Heroes is back. Every Sunday night, we are bringing you the best basketball that the Tri-Valley Conference has to offer. Who will sit atop the TVC Ohio and TVC Hawking? Find out when you tune into WOUB Sunday nights at 11 and Monday nights at 6. And throughout the week, follow along on social media for scores, highlights, and more. We're excited to see you back on the courts, and as always, we're reminding you to be heroic.
International leaders are placing sanctions on Russia, following a move sending shockwaves around the world. In an act of defiance, Russian President Vladimir Putin recognized parts of Ukraine as independent states and has ordered its troops in. The United States and other countries worry this is the start of a full-scale invasion. Isabel Rosales is in Washington with the international response and what could come next.
Alarm and outrage from world leaders.
This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
President Joe Biden following through on promises of more severe sanctions. 2 large Russian financial institutions sanctioned. Russia's government cut off from Western financing. The U.S. will also sanction Russian elites and send more troops to Baltic states to reinforce NATO.
If Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions.
Russian military vehicles spotted along the border with eastern Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin formally recognized 2 Russian-backed regions in Ukraine as independent states Monday, ordering his troops there in an alleged peacekeeping mission. The U.S. is refuting those claims.
He's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is a flagrant violation of international law, and it demands a firm response from the international community.
Swift condemnation from NATO allies.
Moscow has now moved from covert attempts to destabilize Ukraine to overt military action.
The United Kingdom freezing the assets of 5 Russian banks and 3 oligarchs. Russia's biggest gas customer, Germany, suspending progression of a key gas pipeline. Ukraine's president says he believes there will be no war with Russia, but cautioned his troops will be prepared. Diplomatic efforts continue, but prospects grow dimmer by the hour. In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
U.S. State Secretary Anthony Blinken has not canceled a Thursday meeting with his Russian counterpart for now. Russia, meanwhile, calls new Western sanctions illegitimate.
The Supreme Court says it will not take up former President Trump's case challenging the disclosure of the White House documents. Today's decision is a formal conclusion to Trump's unsuccessful bid to keep those records away from the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riots. The court previously rejected Trump's emergency request to block the National Archives from turning over the materials as the court considered whether to take the case. The documents Trump was trying to lock in court are already in the hands of of the committee investigating January 6th. Tuesday's order did not explain why the court was not taking up the case. The order means the lower court decisions approving the release of the documents will stand. A group of friends is in shock after their friend fell into Lake Michigan and got lost under the ice. That story still ahead.
And we're going to see some calm weather tomorrow before another round of rain moves in, and we may even see some wintry mix possibly. I'll have more on this in my full forecast coming up, but first a look at stocks of local interest.
The vote is the most powerful tool we have in a democracy.
Here is somebody who walked into fire hoses and cattle prods and remained absolutely nonviolent.
I will not be satisfied until we end discrimination. Where is our moral leadership? Let us vote. We came here to do our job. You must find a way to get in the way and make our country a better place.
You know, we were growing up thinking that we were inferior.
We could compete with the other black schools, but not with the white schools.
I didn't see any African American faces in the school except for the janitor.
We were the catalyst for the integration of the community.
Del Kiefner and Chief Wilson were ahead of their time. Rather than see color differences, they saw band kids.
It was a devastating moment when everything stopped. Are we ever going to have concerts again?
Here we are in the midst of this mess. And music still flourishes, and beauty gets to have the last word.
I would love to become a cyborg, to run faster, to jump higher, to do all kinds of things that we can't even imagine today.
Literally within minutes of having it all connected, it starts becoming part of me.
I believe the individual will be able to design their own physicality, will be able to sculpt their own identity.
Augmented on Nova.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm forecaster Henry Groff with a look at your weather. And rain is going to be the main focus for the remainder of the week as we saw some heavy rain move through the area. We do still have a flood watch in effect for our area till 6 a.m. tomorrow, but since most of the rain has moved out of the area and we're not expecting a lot overnight, the flood watch will most likely get canceled. We even do still have some flood warnings in effect to our west and to our east, and those will continue through tomorrow as we do still have some rivers running a little high right now. But looking across the region for tonight, we're going to be seeing a cold front move through that will bring down our temperature significantly for tomorrow. And behind that, we don't have a lot of activity going on, but we are going to start focusing on this low pressure system out in New Mexico for the remainder of the week. Tonight, we're going to continue to see temperatures in the low 60s to upper 50s through midnight. But after midnight, we do have that cold front move through, and we will see temperatures drop down to around 35 degrees. We're going to see some gusty winds out ahead of this cold front, and it will be out from the southwest at around 10 to 15 miles per hour. It will feel a little chilly tonight after, again, that cold front moves through. Through Columbus is going to be around 31, and down south in Ironton, it's going to be around 40 degrees. But looking at tomorrow, it's going to be a wonderful and beautiful day. A short break before another chance of rain moves in for our Thursday. High pressure will be dominant across the region. That cold front is now out of our area and pushing south through Florida. Looking at tomorrow morning, we're going to start off a little chilly and cloudy with temperatures at around 37, and winds will start to decrease as we head into the afternoon. We will see winds out from the northwest at around 5 to 10 miles per hour, and we're going to be seeing a high of around 43 degrees. Across the region, it's going to be a little colder up in Columbus at around 38 degrees. down south towards Ironton. A little chilly compared to what we saw today, but it's going to be heading down to around 47 degrees. And then heading into Thursday, we do see another chance of rain move in. We may even see some wintry mix depending on how the temperatures fluctuate, but up north we're going to be at around 38 degrees in Columbus, and again 47 degrees heading into Ironton. And looking at the week ahead, we still have the chance of wintry mix heading into Friday, and sorry about the 7-day disappearing, but heading into our next week, we're going to see chilly weather with temperatures around 30 degrees, but it's going to be absolutely nice compared to what we saw today. But for now, I'm going to be handing it back to Will.
Thank you, Henry. Search crews returned to Lake Michigan this morning to try and find a young man who fell through the ice at Indiana Dunes National Park. Around 5:30 last night, four men and a woman, all in their 20s, walked onto the ice, which then began to crack. According to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, one of the men fell through and his friends were unable to reach him due to the large waves. The wind and waves may be an issue for search crews because the conditions are just as dangerous for performing the rescue mission. Signs are posted in the area warning people not to stand on the ice.
The waves were incredible and they were eating away at all of the shelf ice. And with the temperatures, it's so unpredictable. I mean, you look at this massive thing, you see something 20 feet tall and you think it's okay, but it's eroded underneath and it's only 1 foot thick, but you think it's 20.
Coming up in sports, the Vinton County boys basketball team ended its season on a positive note last night. And right after the break, Ohio men's basketball is back in the convo, ready to make one final push towards a MAC regular season title. That and more coming up next on Newswatch. And be sure to stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
It was a devastating moment when everything stopped. Are we ever going to have concerts again?
Here we are in the midst of this mess, and music still flourishes and beauty gets to have the last word.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a gift of stock is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
The vote is the most powerful tool we have in a democracy.
Here is somebody who walked into fire hoses and cattle prods and remained absolutely nonviolent.
I will not be satisfied until we end discrimination. Where is our moral leadership? Let us vote. We came here to do our job. You must find a way to get in the way and make our country a better place.
You know, we were growing up thinking that we were inferior.
We could compete with the other black schools, but not with the white schools.
I didn't see any African American faces in the school except for the janitor.
We were the catalyst for the integration of the community.
Del Kiefner and Chief Wilson were ahead of their time. Rather than see color differences, they saw band kids.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm Brian Kerp. Every game is crucial for Ohio men's basketball in its race for a MAC regular season title, and we are coming down the home stretch of the regular season. The Bobcats host their second-to-last home game tonight as they welcome in Central Michigan at the Convo. And it has been home sweet home for Ohio. The team's only lost one game there this season. The Bobcats look to rebound from an ugly loss at Kent State on Friday. This game is just as important for the visiting Chippewas. They are barely clinging on to the 8th spot in the standings, and only 8 teams can punch their ticket to the MAC tournament. Ohio says it's not looking past tonight's game, but hey, we can. The Bobcats close out their home slate Friday against Akron. The Zips are 5th in the MAC and still have an outside shot at a regular season title. Ohio then travels to Bowling Green next Tuesday and wraps up its schedule next Saturday at Northern Illinois. Both the Falcons and Huskies are fighting to get into the MAC tournament. Ohio women's basketball plays Buffalo tomorrow in upstate New York. The Bobcats and Bulls have been on different trajectories this season. The Bobcats are winners of 2 straight, but have been unable to string together victories all season long. They are still fighting just to get into the MAC tournament and hold an 8-7 record. Meanwhile, Buffalo has a 12-4 record in the MAC. The Bulls won 7 of their last 8 ball games. The Bobcats came away with a 2-point victory when the two teams met last month. Most teams don't finish their season with a win. It's a different story, however, for the Vinton County boys basketball team. The Vikings were bounced from the sectional tournament last week, but thanks to weather postponements, they took the court one final time last night and won a share of the TVC Ohio title. Vinton County took down River Valley 67-55. The Vikings improved to 10-2 in league play, which tied them with Alexander for the TVC Ohio crown. It was also senior night, and head coach Matt Combs says he is glad they finished their careers on a high note.
They went through a lot of adversity when they were freshmen and some things happening around here, and they stuck it out, and it's glad to see them be able to add a number to our banner up here, and just a great group of kids. One of the best groups I've ever coached in terms of the type of people they are, and I couldn't be happier for them.
Now, even though the Viking season is over, there is still a ton of playoff action in the TVC. There are 3 girls games remaining that Hardwood Heroes covers. All 3 are in action Friday. Vinton County takes on top-seeded Sheridan for the district title. Trimble battles South Webster in Division 4. Waterford then matches up with Notre Dame. There are also 3 boys teams remaining. Trimble takes on Notre Dame Saturday afternoon for the district title. Federal Hawking is up next. The Lancers go up against Western. Both those games are at Wellston High School. Then Alexander takes on Fairland Saturday night. And for all coverage of the playoff action, be sure to go to WOUB.org for the recaps and catch Hardwood Heroes on Sundays at 11 p.m. and Mondays at 6 p.m. I'm Brian Kerp, and that's it for sports. Back over to you, Will.
Astronomers are showing the world a view of space we have never seen before. NASA says this is an unprecedented image of a giant solar eruption. The eruption took place last Saturday and stretched out over millions of miles into space. NASA and the European Space Agency's Solar Orbiter spacecraft captured the photo. The ESA said it's the largest solar prominence ever observed in a single image that includes the entire sun. A solar prominence happens when the sun ejects a huge explosion of light, solar material, and energy into the cosmos. In this eruption, the flare traveled away from Earth.
And taking a final look at our weather for tomorrow, we're going to be seeing mostly cloudy skies. As that cold front moves through, we're going to have temperatures drop down back to around 43 degrees. It's going to be feeling a lot chillier than what we saw today. Across the regions, temperatures even reaching the upper 30s in Columbus and around 50 degrees down in Ironton. But don't put those winter coats away, because once we hit Thursday and Friday, we will start to see temperatures dip back down below freezing, and we will see even colder weather heading into next week, where we will see the teens return for our overnight lows. But we are still tracking a possible winter storm moving in for our Thursday evening and Friday time frame. But that's it for weather. I'm going to be handing it back to the desk.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Lexi Lepoff.
And for Henry Groff and Brian Kerp, I'm Will Price. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy. Information at goldsberrywealth.com. Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Support comes from the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information